Well, put me in a 2012 Hyundai Elantra with my cell phone because my house is being completely gutted for house leaks. And call me Tom Selleck because this is episode 54 of the Talkin' Shop podcast. I'm in my car and I'm at a baseball field in a parking lot. This is the best service I could get. This is a la Brandon Belt, but I'm here and I'm ready for today's show. Chopper, how are you doing with that beard and that brand new shirt?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks to the Bednors for this awesome shirt. All of my families, they gave me. I'm going to show you guys something else real quick too. You didn't know I was going to do this. I got another gift from all my parents on my 10U baseball club, Oro Valley Pups. Love
All
that
you
group.
coaches out there that are getting gifts from your players, raise your hand, listener, because that is the gift that keeps on giving. And I got to tell you, 54 episodes into this pod, hearing all the parents and coaches that have gotten joy and have gotten better at coaching and have gotten those gifts from their players because they're listening to this pod, man, I'm doubled over with ubiquitous Nightingale joy, brother. It's good stuff.
Man, I get so much more emotional nowadays. I'm getting older, and I'm just so thankful for the families and the kids, and just it's an honor, and I love these babies, man. It's really cool. So
Yeah,
just you get
you
an
are.
opportunity. Yeah, it's great.
You're crying more, and I like
Yeah.
it. I like this
Yeah,
side of you.
man. It's a different side of me. It's not normal, but I'm getting more adapt to it. It is what it is. Like you can't fight it. Just embrace it.
Just let it
Embrace your
roll.
feelings.
Our I can't wait to let this interview roll today. Been looking forward to this one for a while. Our guest today is Roberto Clemente Jr., the
Amazing.
oldest son of Roberto and Vera Clemente. And man, oh man, I am so excited to talk to him about everything from his father, his mother, what he's doing in the communities in Puerto Rico and Pittsburgh. He, just like us, is doing things for kids in his community because he needs it. He needs it for himself, and this is something I do for myself. I went down to San Diego Saturday with Brett Tomko, friend of the pod, and Nick Hundley, friend of the pod, and we ran a camp down there. And and to be able to share the Roberto Clemente story with 60 brand new ears, they'd never heard that story, and to do our thing and just see all this excitement and the bubbling, man, super fun to kind of marry this pod with what I'm doing with my sandlots. We definitely missed you, and you'll have to be at the next one for sure.
Yep.
But it was a great sandlot there, and to be able to share an hour with Roberto Clemente Jr. and chat with him about many things. I do have an epic trivia,
Mm.
a Roberto Clemente trivia contest. So get ready for your 1960s and 70s trivia, Chopper.
Yeah.
But what are you most excited about to chat with Roberto Clemente Jr. today?
Yeah, just getting to know his heart, because you're right. He aligns with us. He's about serving others, that servant leadership, and I just want to dive into that side of him, and like that is important to him. So why is that important to him? And
Yep.
how does that make him feel? What responses does he get? And how is he impacting lives? And what is that kind of that immeasurable ripple effect? Just touched a lot of lives. So
Yep.
it's pretty cool. I'm very excited. It's gonna be
Very
great.
much so. I got to meet his brother Luis a couple years ago at the All-Star game, and just kind of trying to get some snippets, some nuggets of Roberto, like things nobody knows. Like he would come home from a Pirates game, and he'd take the kids in the backyard and build pottery, and he'd play the harmonica, things like that. And Roberto Jr. was the oldest, so he kind of had to carry that torch once the accident happened. And I'm really excited to talk about his mother, who just passed a few years back, Vera, who really carried that torch with three sons. and what she did for the communities in Puerto Rico. Um, what that family did when Roberto passed is they said, well, what was Roberto's dreams? It was to build a sports city in Puerto Rico. They wanted to create this sports town. That's why Roberto would go there and run these clinics for kids and bring baseballs and bats and gloves. And so, um, really excited to tap into his last name, and when he finally figured out, you know what, I'm ready to represent my last name the way it should be. He played pro ball for a few years. Was very sad when injuries kind of ended that career, and want to talk about, you know, how he transitioned into what he's doing now with RBI, which is reviving baseball in the inner city. He's big on that in his hometown of Puerto Rico and Pittsburgh. And I'll be going to Pittsburgh in mid-September for Roberto Clemente Day to run a play ball camp there, and hopefully I'll connect with him, and we'll be able to do some fun things in the inner city there. So a great quote I read from him: the one thing you must be is someone who has empathy, and his father had that, and that made him a great leader. And Roberto Clemente Jr. has that, and it's created you know, great leadership skills in him. So I want to unpack that. How does empathy tie in with being a great leader? He also was inherited an American Legion team of teenagers, and they were like the Bad News Bears. And I believe this was in Pittsburgh, but I mean, criminal activities were going on with this group of kids, but he was able to take away all the guns, and he taught them to focus on baseball. So I mean, you talk about impact, and really serving a community that really needs it. How did he build that trust? You know, things we talk about, but I think it's going to be, I think we're going to align big time because he's passionate about coaching, passionate about the next generation. So it's just going to be a super interview, man. Pumped.
Yeah, dude. Anytime we can shine a light on empathy, I think that's, especially my wife and I were talking about that recently with like recent events, that tragic killing, I don't know how else to word it, in Memphis. And it's like, it's tricky for me because as a firefighter, I kind of experienced those, especially late at night moments where you lack empathy. You really do. You start seeing the worst in people. But empathy is like the one thing, like empathy and love, that if we can heighten that, like as a society, everything else goes away. All the trouble, if you can see things from someone else's perspective, you really will treat them differently. And if we can treat each other like we're all special, you know, special to our creator, special to our parents, special to our moms, you know, that can change the way we treat each other. Even if someone wrongs you, if you still see them as a child of God, a child of their parents, another human life, you know, you're not going to treat them how you may want to, or maybe even how they deserve. You know what I mean? Someone could do something really horrible and you could still treat them with love and empathy. So it's going to be great. And it looks like he's jumping on. So I'll let you intro. This is going to be awesome.
And yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He is here. He's our guest on episode 54. Roberto Clemente Jr. is in the house. Snaps for our guest today. Snaps. How are you, Roberto?
I'm doing fantastic, doing great, coach, man. Doing really good. Great to be here with you.
Well, great to be with you. Meet my friend Chad Chop. He is a high school coach in Arizona. He worked with the Dodgers and the Giants organization after his playing days were over. You know, just three coaching minds coming together in one Zoom, and we were just speaking about a quote that I read from you recently about empathy and how important it is to have empathy if you're going to be a great leader. You saw that in your father. You've used that in your own coaching career as well. And why not? Let's just start right there. One thing you must be is someone who has empathy. that can help build trust and create a great leader. Unpack that a little bit for me. Where'd you learn that, and how have you used that?
I thank you for starting there, because I truly believe that it is such a very important piece of being a leader, being able to really establish a trust with your peers. There's no one above anyone, and I remember Dad always saying that he wasn't better. I'm not better. It's like, oh, you're better. No, I'm not better than anyone, but no one's better than me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so it was, he had pride, he had self belief that he could do it. But at the end of the day, he trusted it, but he showed. And I remember I can say some stories about my coaching, and that's, I think, my favorite piece of my life is coaching, being able to um, have those moments and those stories that of impact that are there still after you're gone, because it's not about baseball, it's about life. I truly believe that we're coaching life. Baseball is just a piece that it makes it fun,
No doubt
right?
about it.
So yeah, so for me, I tell you what, I can tell you that empathy for me is a very very big piece, because you're understanding, you're putting yourself in those people's shoes, being able to now understand how to really approach that dynamic of our relationship. And I think it means a lot to them, and I think that's a big piece for a great foundation for our team.
Well, I mean, the reason we started this podcast, me and Chopper, is just some sad stories we were hearing from players that wanted to either walk away from the game or quit the game because either it was boring, they had a bad coach, the pressure was overwhelming, it was negative, it was toxic. A kid had to play travel ball, baseball year round, couldn't play soccer if he was going to stay with that team. Just things of that nature that man, it almost shocked me to, like, it almost felt like we were going into a place of mental illness. Like, I mean, if you're going to scream at an umpire or scream at a kid who's 8 years old because they missed a ground ball, I mean, there's some mental illness there. There's no doubt about it. So I have so much to unpack with you,
Oh
and I
yes.
think you're going to have great answers. But I'm going to throw it over to Chopper for his first question. Go get him, Chopper.
I want to dive into you a little bit, and I know I'm skipping ahead here, but a little bit as a broadcaster, just because there's similarities with you and me in the sense that we both played professionally and had these aspirations to win a World Series, but both of us won it in a different way. We weren't as players. I won it as a coach, and then you won it as a broadcaster. So tell us a little bit about that, like calling those games for those that's Yankee heyday right there. So any stories you can share from that, maybe on the plane?
Oh wow.
What an amazing time.
Wow, wow. I tell you what, I feel so blessed to have been there at that time. That was the best time to be part of that organization. It's funny, I feel that I was part of the organization. I wasn't. I was actually with MSG, Madison Square Garden Network. And it's funny because I went to a meeting in New York, and I was there for a week of meetings. I was leaving back to DC and then back to Pittsburgh. And my last meeting, this gentleman says, after the meeting was done, I was there with my agent. He goes, you know, I am the guy that's producing the Yankee games in Spanish. I think you would be a great addition to the team. We're always getting a third guy. And I said, well, again, let me think about it. I got a kick from my agent behind underneath the table. He said, he's taking the job. I say, I don't even know what they're offering. Nothing. He said, you're taking the job. You're a Yankee broadcaster today. Lo and behold, the next 2 days later, I was actually at Yankee Stadium doing my first game. It was Yankees Milwaukee. I remember, and I can tell you that moment. really changed my life and perspective in terms of how we as players see the game and see what's happening on the broadcast booth is a completely different element of how we approach and how we look at the game, right? So it was pretty cool that my story was that I always wanted to be in a World Series and own my old World Series rings. After Dad died, I would grab his two rings in my hands and look at the rings and like, man, that's my mission. I want to get my rings, right. And got hurt, and God gave me the opportunity to become a broadcaster for the Yankees. And I can tell you, man, to go to all those World Series like back to back to back, that was pretty cool.
It's so cool. And the thing that I can feel from you is that gratitude. And it's the same thing that I had when I was out of the game for 8 years. And then I was thrust back into a World Series champion San Francisco Giants organization. And it's gratitude, right? It's this, you're so thankful to be there. So there's no room for any other emotion, right? And it's like you go into that field every single day, you're doing your reporting, you're just the flights, everything. It's like you're like a kid again, right? And it's just this
And
joy and this
90,
gratefulness.
listen, 98. 98 was a special year for the Yankees, right? 98,
Yeah,
every single day you woke up and you're heading to the stadium, you already know you won the game.
that's right.
It's like the mentality that everything, the whole energy was there. It was a special year. Um, I remember, I remember that year that Steinbrenner. I'm coming down the elevator, and someone, I think a driver, had hit his limo during the game. So he's not a happy. He wasn't happy. I mean, Steinbrenner, the boss, was not a happy camper that night. So I hear that he's coming down. So he's furious. I can see his. Like, I'm like, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get in trouble with the guy. So the next day, I get into the Players parking lot, and there's some traffic. I'm like, never. Like, this is like really random. What's going on? And when I look, I see Steinbrenner sitting outside of the gate or the Players parking lot with with this tablet with a list of names of people that were supposed to park there or not. And he started throwing people out left and right. I mean, it was amazing. But that night, he actually, I saw him cry, dealing with one of the players, uh, and talking to him. And one of my buddies, Daryl Strawberry. And I can tell you that the boss was a man that was very sensitive, and he loved the title of the boss because I gave him a curtain he could be hide behind. He did so much good around the country that people don't know about. This man was an angel, and he just played a good part. He got the title of the boss, so he played the part of being, but he was a soft, gentle man that helped a lot of people, including myself. So I was very blessed to be there. And the players, I mean, being there with Derek Jeter, hanging out after the games. Come on,
Yeah.
I mean, that was special. Okay, that was special. Not only the games, but then being able to be there with my buddy Jorge Posada. Jorge Posada,
Yeah.
believe it or not, uh, ironically, Jorge was my bat boy in Puerto Rico when he was growing up. So
So
now
cool.
I'm a broadcaster, and he's the catcher of the team. I mean, you can't write this thing up, right? And he and Derek were obviously, and still to this day, the closest of friends. And we hung out. I mean, we went everywhere together. With this then girlfriend and now wife Laura. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, truly an amazing time, special for obvious reasons. In the history books, we see all those games. That those guys were they were unstoppable in '98, unstoppable.
We were in the same place at the same time, probably because they were playing the Angels, and I grew up right by Angel Stadium. And in 98, and we went over to the team hotel and everyone was in the bar, and it was just what an incredible vibe of just like, I don't know how else to describe it other than just greatness, like confidence, but not arrogance, like your dad said, like they weren't better than anybody, but no one was better than them.
Correct.
It was pretty special. It was pretty cool.
It was
Coach Ball,
amazing. It was
yeah.
no, it was amazing. Like everything was click, everything clicked. It didn't matter what they did. I mean, they were down front. They knew they were going to come back and win it. It was as simple as that. It was that attitude, that the fights. I mean, that was fun. I mean, that was a fun year, fun time. I mean, those Yankee days were very special for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I mean, yeah, just the name Derek Jeter and the captain, being able to hang around him, that's a guy who kind of gets it, and he was able to um, lead that clubhouse. I'm guessing there was some empathy there, but maybe just a snippet on Derek. How did he build that trust and earn that respect with that clubhouse?
This guy, until this day, the mad respect that I have for him, at that young age to step up into that big stage, um, and not even a blink of an eye. The guy was solid. Okay, he was meant to be there, and he did it actually quietly. He went about his business, and on and off the field, he knew what he was doing. His parents did a fantastic job. He listened to his parents. I mean, his upbringing was fantastic, and kudos to them, because what they actually brought up was a gentleman, a very smart individual that loved the game of baseball and lived for the game of baseball. So everything he did was on a mission to win that game, to get better every day. And you could see he went into work, he went about his business, and he earned the respect of everyone in that clubhouse. And the rest is what you saw on the field is what you had on in that clubhouse, the same individual. And wow, I mean, the maturity early on, he just became better and better and better. And amazing story. The guy did it all well, but he worked hard for it.
The
Worked
word
hard, but
quietly. The word quietly. I highlighted that one there because a lot of times that's the best leader, the one who just leads
very
by
quiet.
example, leads by actions. We had Dave Roberts on, and the word servant leader came up, and it's like, man, those two words put together, that's
You
it.
need to be
That's
able to
strong.
lead. You need to serve. Okay, you must serve to be able to lead. You can't be leading without serving and understanding what that means, and go through that process. Uh,
Yes.
because you will never understand your whole crew if you have never been there.
No doubt about it. Well, speaking of servant leader, I want to go back to the very beginning because there's a couple different pockets I want to hit in this conversation. I got to meet your brother Luis at the All-Star game in Cleveland, and it's been documented. My grandpa Tony is from Puerto Rico. He gave me a book about your father. I said, "What's this about, Grandpa?" He said, "Read it. Read the book. Come back to me, and we'll talk." And I started to read about your father's life, and now, 30 years later, I've told this story of being a servant leader. I'm thinking it's 20, 30, 40,000 different kids across the country who've never ever heard of your dad. When I met Luis, he said, when Dad would come home, we'd go in the backyard. He loved to work with his hands and build pottery. He also loved to play the harmonica. Where did that love of the game start for you? And just, yeah, what do you remember when Dad would come home?
Wow. You know, there are so many stories that I have from, after the games. And, I would go down to the clubhouse and run around and, and I remember, no, you got to go. Mom was waiting. So we would go and get back to the apartment because mom had to cook after the game because dad was coming home to eat. And he was bringing some guys to eat. So after the games, always he would bring someone from the other team. It was a Hispanic player. He was always bringing someone to have dinner, home cooked meal on the road. The stories he would sit and the stories always flying, right? Always fun. But I can remember him shooting pool late at night. He couldn't sleep at night, so he did pottery. He did a lot of pottery. Played the harmonica. He wrote poems. Played the organ. We had an organ at the in our living room, and he played by ear. That's where my brother Luis actually plays by ear himself. He's a great musician. Um, always push him, go do your thing with the music, but he's never done it. But he got that from dad. Dad had an amazing ear to be able to play music. But he was a Renaissance man. The guy was a healer. The best thing that I would watch him do, people will knock on the front door. We had no gates at the time. The people just get to the door and knock. They knew where we lived, and they heard stories. Listen, Clemente can heal. He can actually, you have a problem, go see him. So they will show up at different times at night and knock on the door, wheelchair or crutches. And he would go open the door, and probably no shirt on, and PJs, whatever, and what's going on, and they will tell him the story, what's going on. Well, come on in. I'll be right back. So he'll go to the room, and he had a bag of tools for chiropractor for pressure points that he did on people's backs and neck and so forth. He learned throughout his career, throughout his life, how to take care of the back, neck, and learn with chiropractors, reading books, because he suffered a car accident in 1954, hurt his neck and back. He learned what was going on inside of him. He needed to know and how to fix it. So he was able to learn how to be able to deal with other people, and he healed so many people. Amazing stories, how they avoided surgeries because him visiting them at the hospital the night before. I mean, you go down the whole line, but they would go in my house and I'm watching them. I would be hiding because I'm supposed to be sleeping, and I'm watching mom assisting him, and they come in with wheelchairs and they walk out the door, and I was just amazed, of that sight. I'm like, wait a second, these people were crying and in pain, and they left laughing and just, I mean, hugging dad and forget it. It was quite an amazing sight. He had so many talents, and he was such a blessing. I always say that he was an angel that happened to play baseball. That's how I always kind of frame it, because everything he did, it was of impact. Just how he went about his business. There was no social media back then, right? So even then, he wouldn't even care. He wouldn't want a camera to be with him. He was a shy person, so he wanted to be alone, and that's why he liked to do his deeds.
Amazing. Well, as I was saying goodbye to Luis, I've written a poem about your father, and I've shared it with many children. But he gave me a hug, and he said, "From Dad to you." And at that very moment, this, of course, an airplane just flies right overhead, like very close and very loud, and it's the most chills I've ever gotten. And it just speaks to his healing. He was an angel that played baseball really, really well. But it's amazing to see you and your brothers and your son kind of carrying that torch in a beautiful way. I won't hog all the time, Chopper, but another quote from you: "I'm very lucky to be Roberto's son, but I'm very proud to be Vera's son." Why?
It is amazing that we have been blessed to have a legacy that Dad left us, right? I mean, come on, a legacy such as Dad's is amazing, and look at we're talking about it, 50 years later, right? Um, but to have two amazing parents that both equally have left an impact in our society and in our lives. It's just, I mean, we hit the jackpot. You know what I mean? You hit the jackpot twice. So the lightning hit struck twice in our house in our home, for sure. It was written. Dad picked the perfect woman to be the mother of his children. After the accident, the way she really carried that torch, um, and led by example quietly. I mean, even quiet, even quieter than Dad. So she was very shy. In fact, that I started traveling early on with her and speaking for the family because she didn't. No, you go ahead. You speak better English. So I mean, she was that shy, right? But she was another angel that. We're very, very fortunate to come on because just people, the way she carried herself, such grace, but how she touched people that, for 30 seconds, for 2 minutes, people still have that feeling of how they felt at that particular moment. That's pretty special.
No doubt. Yeah, that idea of just, you know, the purpose of life is to is that feeling that you give others. You found your purpose when that feeling you give others and they walk away with that feeling of positivity. I mean, that's your
Maya
mission
said
in
it
life.
best.
That's your purpose,
Maya said it best.
and
Absolutely, yes.
no doubt about it. It's just so powerful. So, um, man, I'm like a little kid right now, just loving this conversation. Chopperoo.
Oh, listen, Chopperoo, listen, there's so much. I don't even know. I mean, there's so many stories about baseball. Something that kids. I mean, when I played, I mean, I had Ruben Sierra. Remember Ruben Sierra?
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if you remember
of
Ruben Sierra.
course.
Oh yeah.
I have a huge, I mean, story that I've said for many, many years because Ruben's story is amazing. I don't know if you know his story, but I use it as a great storyline, as an example of what you need to do, um, and not give up because you definitely gonna make it because that's your mindset. You have to have that mindset. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to work for it. He worked, and he was able to make it. But an amazing story. I mean, I wish I could have all the time in the world. I have all these stories that we can unpack for sure. But man, Chopper, go
Yeah,
ahead, man.
I'm gonna
I'm
say well, I'm
sorry.
gonna
I'm
say
taking your time, man.
no, I'm
I'm
gonna
taking
say
your
one
time.
thing.
Go
No,
ahead.
no, it's I love it. I'm gonna say one thing, but then I'm actually gonna ask you because I don't know Ruben Sierra's story, so maybe you can touch on that. But I want to say one thing about just your dad and like your family's legacy. One of my favorite teammates growing up, his name was Clemente Bonilla, obviously named after your father. Um, and like there's power in a name, right? And my teammate Clemente had this joy and this love and this, and he was unbelievably gifted, like an absolute stud on the baseball field. But more importantly, he was a stud human, and he's carrying on your dad's name, and that legacy. And now he's a high school coach. And every time I talk to him, which is rare, it's this joy like exuding from the phone. And it's, it reminds me of like your dad, of like that legacy of just impacting lives and love and joy and some swagger too of like, hey, like there's power in that too. Belief in
Listen,
yourself.
you become your name, right? I mean, in many ways,
Yes.
you become. I told my wife, we were trying name to know you become your name,
Yes.
and it's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah.
And And this name is amazing, and Clemente, clemency. By the way, to sabes, it's a whole full circle and how it comes back. But yes, I mean that it is amazing, and to touch on Ruben, I mean you never
Yes.
met Ruben.
Never met him, but we love watching him.
Okay, um, so I had to be the neighborhood in the area where I lived. There was a little league, and I went there one time, twice, and I saw kids running, sliding, or attempting to slide, and crying because they didn't like the way it felt. And I'm like, this is not base. This guys are not baseball players. I was like 8. I'm like 7 years old. So, like, what's going on here? I take me somewhere. Please take me somewhere where I can, So they took me to the hood. They took me to the actual to the inner city. It took me to it's a I mean thinking about it back now, it's like wow, that was crazy. I went to the hood to play, and that's where I grew up playing, and that's where I met Ruben. Ruben and I played baseball together since the age of 8 until we went our separate ways. We were in teens, right? We were battling. We battled for the batting title every single year for the whole league. He and I always. By the way, he never beat me.
There you go.
He never beat me. I was a captain of our team, but this is the story that I wanna tell about Ruben. His mother worked 3, 4 jobs. Had 2 older brothers, no father. Bad area, bad neighborhood, infested with drugs, and he walked out his front door, took a few steps, and these guys were selling drugs right outside his door. Um, and hey, kid, come here, do this, and I said, no, I'm gonna be a baseball player. I don't need that. Thank you. Here, but make some money. I can make you. No, thank you. I'm gonna be a baseball. That's he had it in his mind. I'm gonna become a baseball player. Anyway, long story short, um, this is an amazing story because I'm the captain of our team. We're in the playoffs. It's Mother's Day, and I remember that we had our last game to go to the regionals the next week. And Saturday is Whitewater Sports. I'm playing a game and I hit a glass door and I just messed up. I almost lost my leg in that accident. So now I can't play. I missed the whole thing. We leave for Pittsburgh early, and I'm waiting for phone call to see how the team is doing, the regionals. We won the regionals. We're going to the Willie Mays World Series in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm excited. We drive from Pittsburgh to Tennessee to wait for the team. There, we get there. We start practicing. We lose the thing. We come in third. My mom feels so bad that she rents 2 school buses from Knoxville, Tennessee, to come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to come and watch the Pirates play. Right. This is 1976. I want to say 75, 76. And we drive. I'm in the front bus and telling the driver we're already going downtown to Three River Stadium. We're all dressed in our uniforms, Puerto Rico, and there's a game that night, so we go straight to the clubhouse. It's early. The players are there, and I'm taking the guys. Look, this is Willie Stargell. This guy, so I'm introducing the guys to the team. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. So we run out to the field, to the field, and everyone's running on the field in Three River Stadium. The whole team, right? Pretty cool. Through Major League Baseball stadium, and I look, and at home plate stands Ruben Sierra, crying, for 11 years old. And he's looking around and he has tears coming down his face. And I'm like, what's going on, Ruben? He goes, I'm going to play on this field one day. I'm going to play right field and I'm going to wear 21. I said, you can play here all you want. You're not, wearing 21 because that number's retired.
That's right.
That number's retired, Jack. So, okay, so we go our separate ways. He signs in. Fast forward to 1994. We unveiled the Clemente statue at Three River Stadium. And in the sixth inning, I'm watching in the suite. Sixth inning out of the American League dugout comes number 21 running to right field.
Wow. That's chills right there. Yeah. Wow.
And I knew,
Wow.
no one knew it. How I am watching this happening, understanding our conversation. That was powerful.
That's incredible. And it's something that as a coach, I know you do this without even hearing you say it, but I do this as well of like, you challenge kids, you dare them to dream. Like, hey, have a vision, like believe in it. And no matter what this world or your coach or your mom, and no matter what anyone or a friend, whatever they say, you believe in yourself. You can do anything in this world. You and I both wanted to win World Series, right? And Ruben wanted to play where he wanted to play. And he had this vision and this belief. You can do it. So I'm telling my kids all the time, guys, you can do it from the age of 2 years old. I just wanted to be in the major leagues and win a World Series. And I won 2 of them. And like all these things happened in my life. You got injured. I got released. It took me 2 years where I questioned God of like, God, I thought that you wanted to give me the desires of my heart, but little did I know he was preparing that role as a staff member. And it was way better than anything I could have ever imagined.
Listen, more impactful than being a player.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, the purpose that's actually even bigger than being a player.
Yes, it's incredible. And thinking about Ruben's story reminds me of what Mike Tyson said about his disadvantage was his advantage. That was his adversity gave him strength, and
correct.
Adversity makes the strong stronger and the weak weaker. And I mean, that's your family's story. That's Ruben Sierra's story. It's powerful.
Ruben did not have we would bring him to the house, and we'll bring him to the house to feed him.
Yeah.
After practice, after games, and so he would. Anyway, so yes, man, it is an amazing story. One that I'm very proud of course. It's pretty powerful.
I'm gonna say this, Coach. And I know your fingers up, but I'm gonna say this. I've asked a lot of questions. This is our 54th episode. I'm so glad I asked that question about Ruben Sierra. I did not know that, and that's the best question that I've ever asked. And I'm super thankful you shared it with us, Coach Ballgame.
Well done. Well, and I mean, two things there. Chopper, guys like Jock Peterson and Mookie Betts would ask him, "Hey, give me a dig me sesh. I need you to go in the clubhouse and pump me up. Give me a dig me sesh." If he's playing for the Dodgers, they're not going to ask him that. But he had that role as Mr. Pump up Jock Peterson, so he feels like the Incredible Hulk in the box. It speaks to his role with them. Secondly, you talked about your dad being a poet and being a storyteller. You've got that gene, man. Yes. I was just listening to your story and the power of your storytelling abilities. I think that is why you're such a great coach as well. When I tell stories, Roberto, Jim Abbott, Daniel Nava, now Ruben Sierra, that a lot of times that is the moment when kids perk up the most, and they're just kind of hanging on every word that you have. And I know it's a gift given from my grandfather, who was a poet and a great storyteller, and my mom. I want to go to this lane of you impacting others and where it came from. And I'd love to hear about a man named Victor. A few days after the accident, a man named Victor put his hand on your shoulder and he made you a promise. Tell us about that man.
That's a great, thank you. Because the man driving Ruben back to his house was Victor.
Wow.
Okay. I get emotional because this man, um, wow. It was the third day after Dad's accident, and I had not seen Mom in 3 days. So they drive us up, and there's mayhem. There's so many people. Just, I mean, just going up the hill. I'm looking. I'm like, wow, helicopters. It was, it was a scene. So I get out of the car, and I'm about to run to make my way into the house and try to wave my way in. And one of our friends that flew in from Philadelphia, Jack Davis, Jack stops me. He goes, "Let's take a walk." So I said, "Okay." So we took a walk, and he asked, what happened? I said, "Yeah, I already know." Um, so he says, "Well, you need to be the man of the house." And we had this whole conversation. We're walking back, and I get to the front of the house. The bridge was a bridge. I got in front of the bridge there, and I kind of realized. I came to a realization. And I looked up at Jack, and I said, "Jack, who's going to take me to play baseball now?" Victor was standing right there. He heard me. He said, he put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Robertito, you don't worry about that. I will take you through every practice and every game." That man's word, unreal, never failed once. He was there early. He was there an hour and a half early before I needed to wake up every single time. Amazing.
Special, man. And wow. And if we obviously the impact Victor had on you, um, and how many kids you've impacted because of that one hand on your shoulder, and that one Victor that picked you up early and dropped you off every day. Like, if we can, as coaches and parents, just learn from Victor and learn from that and see how impactful it is to just show up. Just show up. Pick a kid up, take him to a baseball field where he's not going to be, getting into trouble or playing video games or things of that nature. Like, build them up. My goodness. I mean, attaboy Victor, and I know he just recently passed away, but a huge attaboy to Victor, and another story in my storybook that I'll be telling kids
But
for
wait,
years.
but Victor doesn't stop there. Okay, Victor was a very smart man. Yeah, he used to he was an umpire as well. He umpired before, and he loved baseball. Now I get hurt, and I get back to Puerto Rico, and Orlando Merced is my neighbor. Orlando Merced
Yeah.
played for the Pirates. So Orlando, I mean, literally my neighbor, same street, a year younger than me, went to class with Luis. And I came into, I said I would go by his house because I was training, getting back ready to play. And I said, "Orlando, let's go." "No, no, I'm not, And I would go to Orlando. Let's No, 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 no. So I wanted to say, I need your help." I said, "What do you need?" I said, "I need you to come and help me practice." "Okay." I can tell you that I left for spring training 2.5 weeks later. He had become ready the time that he and I started practicing together. Victor invited him to practice with my brother, where he was being seen by the Pirates. They signed both of them the same day. So Victor had Orlando Mercedes, I mean, he actually brought him into baseball. If it wasn't for Victor, there would be no Orlando Merced.
Wow.
Man. And just one of those unsung heroes, right? Who
Yes.
just
Yep.
once again quietly picked you up
Yes.
and just kind of paved these roads for you, and just he gave you a father figure, so to speak, of how you should be when it's your turn to impact young ones. You wrote the day you got hurt, your back got hurt, and your playing days were over. You went home to Puerto Rico to your mom's house, and you cried for 3 weeks. So from this, we've all done it. I've cried for 3 weeks when my playing days are over. Chopper as well. Um, from those 3 weeks to this chance encounter with a youth team in Puerto Rico and creating the Roberto Clemente Foundation to
Yeah.
RBI. Just kind of walk us through that transition, because there's a lot of
All
people
right.
listening right now that are in that same grind.
Coach
All right.
Bogan,
So,
and let me just say one last thing really quick on Victor, if I may, because I think oftentimes we get so caught up in serving where we think we have to do this huge thing of like, oh, I got to go on a missions trip to Costa Rica, or I got to build someone a house. No, you just have to be reliable. You just have to be in your community looking for an area to give someone a water bottle or give someone a ride, or be reliable. Like Victor was reliable. He told you, hey, I got you. You need to go to the field. I will be there. And that was his act of service. And it was powerful, and it's still powerful to this day.
yeah, that is correct. I mean, that is something that it's needed. I mean, there are so many kids out there that all they need is a ride. And they need someone to talk shop, to, like, situational, if they don't understand something, how can I, so being able to be clear. I mean, game situations and where you're right to the ballpark. I mean, go grab a burger after there's so much things. Victor helped feed, I mean, Ruben Sierra. I mean, if it wasn't for Victor, that's another thing. If it wasn't for Victor, I would have never met Ruben. I mean, there's a whole thing that would have never happened. Okay.
Yep. Awesome.
Amazing.
Sorry to interrupt. Go back to telling your journey.
So, obviously I'm depressed. It took 3 long years of 3 surgeries, 3 knee surgeries, 3 long years of rehab to end up paralyzed from my waist down in spring training. So obviously I was devastated, and so I had a good friend who we played together, and he was managing a American Legion team in Puerto Rico, and he had called me a couple of times, and I didn't want to pick up. And no, it's Luis calling, and I don't want to talk. So he kept on calling every day. Hey, Roberto, come on, I want you to see the team. I said, no, I don't feel like it right now. And I mean, he was just moping. I didn't even leave my bedroom for 3 weeks. So he used the magic word. That actually not. I don't know if I should say it, because if I say the magic word, people would know the magic word, and I'm in trouble, because I'm in trouble all the time. Ask my wife, because that's a magic word. Magic word is help. When he used the word help, it triggered it just triggered something in me, and I said, okay, I'll be there Tuesday night. I showed up to watch his team practice. He wanted to meet after practice and to give me some, my honest opinion on what I thought of the team. So I sat in the bleacher, no one in the bleacher. I sat in the top, and I'm watching this horrific view of this team. It was Bad News Bears, and just 16 to 18-year-olds. It was just bad. It was just really bad. It wasn't bad. I mean, I know my guy is a professional. He was a professional baseball player, so I know that he knew better than what I was seeing, right? So we sat down afterwards, and all I could do was shake my head. He goes, "I know. That's what I'm saying. I need your help." I said, "Okay." I said, done. I'll be here Thursday. He goes, that's what I wanted to hear. That's good. So now he got me engaged, right? So let's go. Let's help these kids. And I show up on Thursday early because I like to be early, and I see one of the kids. A couple of the kids are shooting basketball, shooting hoops, smoking cigarettes, and talking to girls, music blasting, And I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, this is not look. No wonder it doesn't look like a baseball team. And one of the, hey coach, over here. The coach. I go over. He goes. He hands me the equipment bag. I go like, what's this? He goes, yeah, Louis just dropped it off for you. It says the team is yours. He's gone. He can't handle the team, so he just gone.
Wow.
I'm like, no. I said it's okay. We'll do. I said we'll do tonight, and that's it. I'm out. I said this is not happening. I'm not doing this. I'm gonna go to his house after this practice, and we'll fix this. We do go through the practice. Actually, practice was drop everything, get running shoes on, whatever you have on. No one's touching a baseball, a bat in tonight. No one. It's not happening. We're breaking everything down. We're gonna start by running, stretching, doing. I mean, we're gonna start from the basic, and that's what we did. So I said, "Follow me." So I started running. I went out for 2 miles. I mean, it took them I don't know how, but I went, and that's what I started. That's how I needed to do, and that's what I did for 2 weeks. Um, I think we saw the first baseball 2 weeks, probably 6 practices into my taking over the thing. I looked for Luis. He's nowhere to be found. I kept on looking, calling, nothing. In the meantime, I kept on showing up. I had to show up, right? But the guy started getting better. But we started a series of games, exhibition games now, and there was a low income housing right behind the ballpark, and my first baseman, 6'2", I mean, big kid, struck out a couple of times. Someone yelled something from the stands, and I'm at third base, and I'm talking to my runner at second base. I hear some commotion behind me. I look back. I'm like, this, my first baseman is in the stands, just rocking this guy. I'm like, what's going on? No, so I got to roll, grab him. It's just the brother of the biggest gangster of this place behind the thing, right? I didn't know this. We continue the game. Uh, um, uh, Maybe an inning later, I hear chanting coming from that area, and then I hear chanting getting closer, and I look, and it's actually around 200 people with, you know, all kinds of gadgets and you know, and I'm like, oh no. So when I realize what's going on, I see my team running that way. I'm like, what's going on here? This is insane. So, and I'm looking at this mass of people coming towards the ballpark. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be pretty. Um, I'm really nervous, and I look to the other side, and I see my team coming back towards me, carrying guns and weapons, all of them.
Wow.
I was like, I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? This is not happening. So I grabbed the equipment bag and I said, what are you guys doing? Throw those things in here, everyone to center field right now. I said, everyone to center field. We all went out there, took my bag, so everyone's safe over there. So everyone got there. 2 people come onto the field, start walking to a center field. So I start going to meet them. So I'm going like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna see who this, how we're gonna fix this. I don't know what this is all about. So the guy comes over and he getting closer. He goes, no, this not with you. It's not with that guy over there. Just let me have him. Let me just have this guy because I'm gonna take his head. I mean, he started talking all kinds of, he hit my brother, and now I'm getting the guy that he was fighting was his brother, and that's just the biggest guy there. Um, and immediately I said, I need to figure out how to diffuse this. And I looked at the kid, looked at the guy, and he was beat up. So listen, sorry about this whole situation, but this kid you wanna touch, you need to come through me before you get to him. This is not gonna happen. And as soon as I started talking, and I said, "We're gonna have to," he looks at me, goes, "Wait a second, are you Clemente?" I say, "Yes." He goes, "Wow, I never knew I was gonna meet you, man. That's pretty cool." I kind of started kind of breathing a little better, right? I said, "Listen, how about if I bring your brother to be my assistant? Be take my take scoring. I will teach him how to score the book, get him out of that situation that he's in." He goes, "We got a deal. We made a deal. We made a pact. I took his brother to get him out of what he was doing. He was and he became my guy, my mascot, my gopher, my guy, my he was my mascot. He did everything he did. And everyone loved this kid. But we were able to at least diffuse that situation, be able to mesh that thing. But the most important thing is that after that whole situation, I needed to find out why my team had weapons. So I started asking, but it said, why do you? Well, I had a couple of hitmen, I had drug dealers, they were all except one. Out of the 18 guys, 17 of them were involved in criminal activities. They never got their weapons back. We continued playing the game. I took them, they took themselves because they actually got to the championship game. We lost in extra innings, but we took that team to the championship game. But the most amazing thing is that later on in life, I bumped into some of the guys, and they tell me, listen, out of the 17 guys that were involved, only two, just two. One was arrested, the other one got killed. The rest are doing great, and that for me was a win. So that for me, and from that point on, it was very clear what I wanted to do. I later on had to go do the RBI program, start the RBI program in Puerto Rico. That was amazing, being able to put that together. Won 10 championships, and the stories are endless. But just the impact of what we have of a blessing of a game that we can have those stories is a lot of fun.
Chopper, I know you've got a lot to unpack with that because, as a coach of 18-year-olds yourself, but I'll just say this. You became your name. Are you Clemente? You became your name, but I also thought of Victor with that bag, like the bag where you put all the weapons. That's Victor, the silent leader. Just put the guns in this Victor bag, and you became Victor and Clemente in that moment. Oh man, Chopper, have you ever had any experiences like that on a baseball field?
No experiences with weapons, but it is this power of teaching kids through baseball because there's so much failure, like how to deal with adversity, how to make good decisions, how to sacrifice, how to put others before yourself. And just that's why, to me, and I think we all agree, it's the best game in the world because no other game or sport or walk of life can you fail 70% of the time and be considered great. So it's this ability to take something negative and still extract a positive. And that's what our job is as coaches. And we talk about this all the time, Coach Ballgame. The kids don't listen to our words, they watch our actions. So if we tell them, hey, you got to have composure, but we're screaming at umpires or
Right.
opponents, you know what I mean? Then the kid's like, oh, this guy's a clown. I don't trust him. He's not honest. He can't control himself. How are we supposed to control ourselves? So
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there were a couple of instances that season that I lost it with the umpires, but
oh yeah, well that's a young hey no, that's a young coach. Like that's a young coach. When I first started coaching high school, I got into it with umpires, and I think I lead the league for the most ejections in a Keno league. I got thrown out all the time. And as you mature as a coach, you start realizing it's not about me. It's about these kids, and it's about teaching them life skills. I screwed up over the weekend. We were playing an opponent. Coach Ballgame was doing a camp. I was coaching high school games, and we hit back-to-back home runs, right? And the opponent, that pitcher, was still on the mound, and he started chirping a little bit, and I just made sure he knew he gave up 2 home runs, a combined 1,000 feet, and I shouldn't have done that. So the next inning, he came out to third base, and I said, hey, son, like, I need to be better than that, and I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said anything to you, and I need to be a better leader, and I'm really sorry. Like, I shouldn't have done that, and I made a mistake. And he's like, hey, coach, thank you so much for saying that. There's power in that for these kids to say, like, hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to own up to it, and I have to be better, and I'm sorry, and
Thank
there's
you. That was
power
a
in that.
big. That was a huge deal for him, for you as well. No, but for him to be. Yes. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, kids hear apologies even better than they hear or see
That's gold.
integrity, I
That's
think.
gold. That's gold to them. Gold. Like, oh, I'm being respected. I mean, that's actually, they're being respected. I am being validated. I'm being respected, which is great.
It's very hard for me to apologize to my daughters. I've got 2 young daughters when I know I've been too aggressive, too whatever, passive aggressive, too hard on them. It's hard for me to go there, but when I do, those are the moments when their light turns on, and they, like you said, they feel respected and they feel seen, and then it becomes this great back and forth. So
Correct.
Whatever you touch it in a positive way. The good feelings of helping people less fortunate that save your life. These are quotes that I've read from you that I relate to so well. That that should be a movie, by the way. That story of that team and that day, like, it sounds like West Side Story meets Bad News Bears. That is an amazing story. But
that story is perhaps, I mean, it is a very powerful story. I mean, I think that no doubt is a whole movie on its own. I see my life as there are certain periods that from age 7 to 11 is a one movie. I mean, I have like 8 movies.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. And there's some pretty amazing stuff. Good, bad, ugly. But at the end of the day is actually how you actually come out of every one of those, right? And it's just like baseball. You know that you're failing 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But this is good. Now be able to apply that in life and make sure that you actually hit that average, and understand what that means in life. You're gonna be in good shape.
Well, I mean, I've said it a lot that there's I'm still waiting for that, that Roberto Clemente movie that is so powerful, and I feel like from your perspective, a movie from your perspective would just, I mean, it would have so many layers of from after the accident to Victor to that's the movie, and I'm not a writer, but I know it's there, man. It is totally there.
Listen, the first, and just this part, it's pretty rough, but I went through a very hard time a couple months, 2, 3 months after the accident, because obviously I lost my protector. I lost someone that, my security, uh, and fell vulnerable, and became a victim of abuse. And that happened for years. And that is part of uh, a lot of things that kind of became an issue. And that's when the quote that you read was that when I was in my darkest times, because I was dealing with all kinds of things in my life, and the emotions, I didn't know how to deal with them. Um, that my release with alcohol, right? And I I lived in a very dark place, but the only thing that kept me going was the feeling of helping people. That was the only thing that actually kept me sane, right? It was not it was away from me, and it was just my nature. This is that, and I'm happy. So people saw me happy because I was always helping, right? But in the inside, I was crying, and I was, um, but I thank God that I was able to survive and go through that whole process, because there was light. The darkness, that is gone, and thank God, that I was saved, and because of him, I'm here today, and I continue to be blessed, and grateful that those experiences I can share, I can actually write about, I can make a movie, I can make several movies actually with all the stories that I have. I can just start producing right now, and never stop, because there's so many unbelievable, just, I mean, from the '79 Pittsburgh Pirates, for example, that team of the We Are Family. I mean, I got stories from that team because I used to catch in the bullpen in the summertime. Going to the clubs. I'm 14 years old, and I'm hanging out with the team in the discos, and it's just not. You can't write this stuff up.
No way.
You just can't write it.
And to
You
see
know.
it come full circle with Roberto Clemente III throwing out the first pitch, getting national news with you on Clemente Day. I mean, man, that had to be there had to be a moment of pinch me here at that night.
You know, I often say that God has a sense of humor, because he sends me three beautiful daughters. They're grown. I have five grandchildren, and I was done. I had no business being in a T-ball game right now, at this age. But I obviously, it was meant to be, and this kid, um, he's a miracle baby. I was not supposed to be having kids at this age, but to the doctor, and hey, when you're ready, let me know. If you want to have a kid, let me know. We'll do go through the whole process. Blah blah blah. That never happened. That never happened. So as soon as Kaylee said, we're pregnant, I knew it was a boy. I said, that's dad. That's the man upstairs. That's it was simple, and I was right. And the ability that this kid has, even as a baby, was I never seen anything like it. I was like, this kid is gonna do something special. He was doing stuff with his feet and his hands at the same time, and doing. I mean, carrying 10 pounds. Just dragging it. He was, I don't know, a few months old, and he was just. I'm like, what is he? What are you doing? His hand-eye coordination is insane. His speed is just he just flies. And when took it to the table for the first time, this kid just started. I said, yeah, that's his grandfather. I mean, I see his grandfather all over him. I mean, everything he does, the way he runs, the way everything. I'm like, wow, I think we got something here.
Well, I can't wait to coach him. I will be in Pittsburgh September 15th. We've already discussed it, and I'll be there with MLB. And I would love to bring my drums and hook up with you, and we will do something. We'll do something
Oh yeah,
with your
we'll have some
foundation with
fun.
RBI, and I gotta see number three here. I gotta see him hit a ball.
He's something else. He's a funny guy. He's funny. He's a fun to watch for sure.
Outstanding. Well, we always close up shop with a little trivia contest. I've got some baseball trivia where it would be you versus Chopper. It's just a few questions on your dad's playing career. Are you game? Are you game to
Uh,
battle against Chopper and a
all
little
right,
trivia?
all right. I know he's ready. Go ahead.
He springs this on me. I'm not ready. So I was not born. I was born in 1980. So I'll
80.
do my
Oh
best.
dear. Oh dear.
Let's do it.
All right. So, first trivia question, Roberto Clemente, uh, what pitcher did he have the most at bats against?
Ooh.
64 career at bats against this pitcher. He was
Six.
inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1984. This pitcher.
Bob Gibson's a guess. It's probably the wrong time. Is that the wrong
Good
time?
guess.
Okay.
Incorrect.
Oh, he was inducted in what year?
84. Nickname Big D.
Drysdale.
Ooh,
Correct.
Don Drysdale.
Don Drysdale is
Nice.
correct.
No,
One nothing.
I had him. It was either Drysdale or Koufax. I had one of the two. It was
Okay.
one of the two.
1-0 Roberto. Question number two. Most hits against what pitcher? He had 62 knocks against this pitcher. Lefty.
Yeah, so Koufax. No.
Incorrect. Good guess.
You can keep guessing
Nickname
too.
was Hooks because of the size of his nose. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 72.
Another Hall of Famer.
Lefty.
Lefty. Jeez. Oh my gosh. I go ahead.
Initials WS.
Oh, I know. It's like it's in the tip of my tongue.
Warren
Killing me.
Spahn.
Warren
Spahn.
Spahn. Wow.
Yeah.
Had 62
Yeah.
hits
Wow.
against Spahn.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, all of these, I mean, most ABs, most hits, this next one, most home runs, they're all Hall of Fame
Hall of
pitchers.
Famers.
Who did he have the most home runs against?
Oh, I don't know this one.
He
Home
had
runs.
6 bombs against these two pitchers.
Two pitchers, Hall of Famers.
One
Hall of
lefty,
Famer.
one righty. One's Canadian.
Fergie Jenkins.
Ooh,
Correct. Fergie Jenkins.
that's the righty.
Fergie.
And the left.
Is it Koufax?
Correct. He had 6
Koufax.
bombs against
Jeez.
Koufax and Fergie.
Two pretty good
Yeah,
pitchers.
because Koufax always every time I saw Koufax, he would tell me, I hate pitching. I mean, it didn't matter how it threw. It seemed to hit me every time.
Yeah.
So
I got to talk to Fergie Jenkins, and he said Roberto he's just the other way, right center field all day long. Just really tough.
Well, I mean, the way he pitched to him. I mean, he was smart. He just went with it, and plus he had half a tree in his hands anyway. The thing was heavy. He just let it. He just dropped it. So.
I think Roberto's already beat you, Chopper. But
oh yeah,
but
I'm just happy to be here.
We got one more. Who are the two Pittsburgh Pirate Roberto Clemente Award winners?
Ooh,
McCutchen, and Willie Stargell.
Let's go.
Boom. And you got Kutch back. We'll close with Kutch, Roberto. Why is Pittsburgh so happy to have him back?
It's very simple. Very simple. There's only 121, but there's only been 122 that played here in Pittsburgh, and him having him back, I mean, it's amazing for the fans, great for the organization. It doesn't matter how many games they lost last year; it's all forgotten, right? It's a brand new season, and having Kutch, I mean, the guy is so beloved here that they can't do wrong this year. Just by having him back, it's great. It's really the whole city is really excited about that first game back as a Pirate.
Well, man, this has been a real treat, and I just want to say thank you, and I can't wait to see you again and do this again, and just tell stories, because I am going to be a better coach today because of this conversation. And man, I just loved it, Chopper.
Thank you so much. It was awesome. And the impact that your family's name has had and your family's actions have had on so many people still to this day, it's incredible. So thank you for taking the time and sharing the stories.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Great to meet you.
Listen, and just before I go, it's very important, and I want to really kind of underline what you said in terms of visualize, 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 visualize. Do it and continue doing it right here, because that's how you're going to make it happen. Okay? Visualize and visualize and visualize. Make sure the only thing that I'm gonna close it with this is that we're all the same. There's one thing that separates us, obviously, besides geography, is actually this thing right here. That fingerprint. Right? Because no one in the world can match that fingerprint. So whatever you touch it in a positive way.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
It's beautiful. You the man. Thank you so much.
Have a great time, guys.
Have a great day.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Bye. Take care.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, Chopper. Yeah, lead us off, man. What I mean, there's a billion takeaways. What do you take away?
One thing he said that I want to touch on for coaches is, and in life too, like we all want good times. Good times are great. When things are going well, it's awesome. It's great. But that leads to complacency. It leads to a lack of a reliance on others or a faith, right? So off the field, like, lean on your faith, even in good times. But in those bad times, find those positives or those areas where God's working in your life. Now, bring that to the baseball field. We had a game this last weekend, and I was talking to one of our athletes, very good athlete, and he got down a beautiful bunt for a hit that we're really working hard as a team. He got that down, and then his last at bat, he hit a hard base hit to right field. So we were talking yesterday, we're working on bunting. We bunt every day before practice. It's how we're going to win games this year with this group. And I was like, dude, what a great bunt you got down. That was so great. It was awesome. And he goes, yeah, but I missed the squeeze and this, that. And I go, John, I don't even remember you missing. I honestly don't remember that. Like, I only remember that perfectly executed. He's a left-handed hitter and he dropped it right down the third base line. It was beautiful. I said, hey, and coaches, tell your kids, like, if you do something wrong on a baseball field, sure, you can process it as quick as you can, as far as like, okay, can I do something better? How was my heart rate? What was my thought process? But then once you've gotten what you need from it to learn, throw it away. Like, do not dwell on the negative. Dwell on the positive. You got down a beautiful bunt and you had a hard base hit your last at bat. All you should take away from that day is I was 2 for 2 with a bunt single and a hard base hit. Don't dwell on the negative. So, I mean, as coaches, make sure, check in with your players. Ask them what they remember from the game.
Yeah, empathy, kind of full circle, right back to the first question we asked, and the topic at the top is just being someone who can sit there and understand and listen to each person, know where they're at, and that's going to make you a great leader, because you're going to build that trust. If you're just ramming skills down their throat right out of the gates, and we have a lot of coaches starting their seasons this week with practices, yeah, you're going about it the wrong way. Sit down, have a 30-minute conversation with each player, and have a group meeting. What's your nickname going to be this year? And what do you love to do? And who are you? What's your personality type? Start there. Find each key for each lock, and then build that family, build that trust. So, maybe, I mean, that's my favorite episode so far. There's no doubt about it. It's
Yeah.
just too much. Roberto, he was an angel. He healed people, and he hit the ball like nobody else at the same time. So, um, I am a happy man after that one, brother.
You're not better than anyone, but no one's better than me. I love that. That's a great, because that's self-confidence, that's self-loving, that's affirmation. So people might take that as like, well, that's cocky or arrogant. No, it isn't. Like that's a belief in yourself. And then he has that leveled with humility. So like, you want to carry yourself with humble swag and love yourself. That's how you can love others. If you're talking down to yourself or not carrying yourself with high self-esteem, how can you love others? How can you breathe life into people? You can't. You're going to be worried about how bad you are and this, that. No, dude, like you're awesome. You're unique, right? And you're not better than anyone else. That is, I mean, yeah, I agree. Incredible episode. Incredible.
Well,
So good.
I am now going to head back to my house where the kitchen, living room, and my bedroom are all gutted, and maybe we'll find an Airbnb. But this Hyundai Elantra was a good studio for today, and thank you to all our Patreons. Tommy G on the ones and twos, attaboy, Tommy Gold. Next week we've got Kelsey Wingert, the sideline reporter, dugout reporter for the Colorado Rockies. She's awesome. Has a podcast with John Boy Media, so she'll be up next week. But great to see you again, partner.
Make sure to rake, everybody. Wake and rake. Wake and rake.
Bang.
Bang.